Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here today on the VSO Gun Channel. I'm down here at the Big 3 East Training Center with my good friend Quentin Carter. Real quick, Q, and that's our nickname for you. Introduce
Everyone
yourself.
knows me as Q.
Tell everybody who you are, what you do, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
Just to lead into the video before we kind of get going.
Okay, quick basic about me. Everyone calls me Q. I work for InfoWars. I do security. I do product development. I've also been the director of training here at the Big 3 Training Center for, this is my 6th year. So
I didn't realize it was 6 years.
6 years, yeah, man. It's been a while.
You've been putting up with CJ for 6 years.
I've been putting up with him for almost 11.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. God bless everybody, huh?
Yeah, so you had a couple of things that you want to just talk about, especially in light of recent events that are going on in the country, that you kind of wanted to just kind of dive into.
Right. Everyone that knows me knows, like, I'm not a journalist. This isn't what I do for a living. I am a gun guy. I'm a knuckle dragger. But I think it's super important that we reach as many people as we can. You have a large reach. I have a large reach. And I just want to remind those people, like, hey, what are our basic liberties? You know, why do we have certain things? What's important to you? You know, do you, we can't have the First Amendment without the Second Amendment.
Right.
So we have to fight for the Second Amendment to basically keep all of our other rights. People like to say, oh, we don't need semi-automatic rifles because they're only for killing, and that's ridiculous. But so I like to get multiple people's points. All of my fans have heard all my rhetoric over and over and over of how I feel, but I want to basically step out of that box and talk to more people and get their take on the same things. The importance of training, not just so much firearms, but situational awareness, self-defense. You've made leaps and bounds in the last 2 years in your physical fitness. You and your brother have both changed your lives and started doing totally different things, because we all learn throughout events in our life that it's the basic guideline that we have to have. You have to be fit to fight. If you're going to take care of your family or do something else, we all have to do that.
Right,
so,
100%.
Yep. So I just want to take a second, reach out to you, your fan base, and get your idea on situational awareness training, what you do, what you don't do, what are things that you find are important when you look at a training place.
Right. So first off, we all see those dudes that walk around that are always like, they try to act like they're 100% turned on all the time, right? And the reality situation is nobody walks around like that all the time. Everybody relaxes to some point. You all have your safe space. I know that's a hot button.
That's a hot word.
Yeah, it's a hot word. Yeah. Everybody has their space that they go to where they just kind of relax, right? And you need to know when that's appropriate and when not to. And I think that the real value of training is being put in situations where you can start to disseminate determine when the time is appropriate to maybe relax a little bit and when not to. And I have several tenets that I use to evaluate training courses. I'm really big on mindset.
Right.
And I think that what you need to look for in an instructor or a school is a history of quality performance, and do they have a good track record with their students? Do they have any students that have gone through their classes that have been successful in gunfights, anything like that? The instructor's credentials, obviously. You don't necessarily have to be, super Blackwater, high-speed operator, all that sort of stuff, but it definitely helps, right? But on the flip side of that, I also think that sometimes some of those guys might be a little bit siloed in the doctrine of having been in the military, been in Blackwater, been in a offensive capacity instead of a defensive capacity. Make sure that the training that you are attending and you choose to attend is relevant and current to your current lifestyle.
And that's the big thing that I'm huge on, is telling people that regardless of my background or what I've done or what you've done, our lives evolve every single day. The situations that we find ourselves in every single day are not the situations that we may have encountered in past lives. So yes, while we may have done X, Y, and Z before, that's not the reality anymore. The reality is, I spend a lot of time on the road, or I spend a lot of time somewhere else. So it's super important for me, mindset, situational awareness, the fight or flight. I don't have a lot of flight, I'm getting older. I'm just not gonna run. I don't run. Like, that's just how it is. So I'm a huge supporter of mindset. I think that having more fight in a little dog is a lot more important than having a big dog with no fight in him.
I can totally subscribe to that. And you see that a lot. If you go to any school that does a lot with mindset, you can see the people that are plugged in, that are into it, and then you see the people that are just kind of like almost going through the motions type thing.
Yeah, I bought a badass battle belt. I got some Cry Precision $500 pair of pants.
Yeah.
Like I'm an operator now.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's totally not the case. We've seen it in recent events. We won't name who, but somebody absolutely had a chance to prove themselves as an operator, and they didn't. Here nor there, you know. But it's kind of that whole thing, like, what do you do when something bad happens? You know, what do you carry in your everyday carry? I did a few videos last year where I walked around here and just asked everybody, like, hey, what do you have in your pockets?
Yeah.
You know, I want to see what you got. And there was brass fidget spinners, and there was this and that, and all kinds of different things. But there were also an enormous amount of tourniquets.
Yep.
You know, the reality is you can stop major or minor blood loss with something very simple.
Yeah, and I'll steal this from one of my friends. Carry 2 trauma kits, one for inducing, one for fixing. Right. And that's just the responsible thing to do. You know. Yeah, I mean, really, that sort of thing, you don't really get into that until you've gone to like the more advanced levels of training, where, you know, your carry permit is not enough, right? We need to, I think as a culture, yes, that's what's required for you to be legal and you know, with the state and everything like that. That's your minimum, right? But as us as responsible citizens, it's your responsibility to take a fraction of that money that you're spending on gear and all the cool Cry Precision pants and all the slings and buttons and switches and knives and bullets and guns and all that sort of stuff. Take a fraction of that and reinvest it in yourself, because you are the most important factor that's going to be there.
And a huge thing too is, you know, training is not just about what I do for me. It's how am I going to react when my family's around, when somebody else is around. And we've talked about before, you know, the basic concealed carry permit. Yeah, it's a license. That's all it is. Doesn't mean you know anything. It doesn't mean you have any training. It's like getting a driver's license when you're 16. You get behind the wheel of a car, you're a shitty driver.
You are a shitty driver.
Right? Like, you're not any good at it.
I was really bad.
I was a bad driver. Didn't care, drove fast, took chances, whatever, right? But you got better at driving because you drove every day. Now, unfortunately, I run my cell phone with one hand, the steering wheel with the other, the radio with the other hand. I'm not paying any attention, but I've done it enough now that it somewhat feels comfortable doing it, even though I know it's wrong. Same thing with guns.
Are you endorsing?
I'm absolutely not endorsing, but I am saying that if you drive down the road and look at the person next to you, they're probably playing on their cell phone.
Yep.
So if we put that same thing into training, carrying a pistol, putting a pistol in my belt is the same as putting a wallet in my pocket. But if I never pull it out and never do anything, it would be the equivalent of never driving, getting a driver's license, and then basically sitting there.
Yep.
So 20 years later, although you've got in the car every single day but never driven it, you're still a shitty driver. You're still a poor performer with a firearm. You've not changed your mindset. Everything about what you're doing has not
progressed
at all. No progression whatsoever. You were the same bad person that you were, and you're still bad at shooting. You may have even 20 years of bad habits of doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I think that those are things that a competent instructor who is focused on bettering you, not just taking money out of your pocket, right, is the real thing that people need to look for in a training school. And unfortunately, shooting is a perishable skill. So even if you do get good for a little while, you have to do this sort of thing on a regular basis. Practicing at the range is not always sufficient. You know, you need to be doing the right types of practice, and the only way to really do that is to go get some quality training from a reputable instructor that can teach you how to do it properly.
Right? Totally agree.
Totally agree.
You know, and so that it also goes back when you start talking about mindset, it's not just firearm. It's medical, it's, you know, we talked about earlier, living totally switched on, right? So living in the red. No one can live in the red. If you lived in the red, you would literally burn out in 4 hours and you would sleep for a couple days, you'd be miserable. But a lot of us, especially veterans who have been through a lot, tend to ride that line between, you know, living deep in the orange. I think it's valuable for us. I think it's kind of what helps us. And then as a trainer, it's one of the things that I like to help push is situational awareness. Living in that, you know, moving from the yellow to the orange and doing things And one of my favorite like accolades as an instructor is when I hear 6 months later someone say like, man, I never put my car in park at the ATM anymore. Like never. Like you told me one time, it was reality, I thought about it, you're right, the doors do unlock. That's stupid, it's dark, and I just unlocked every door and the dome light came on. I never thought about that. One time I was with my wife, we were at McDonald's drive-thru, we were on International Drive, and we pull in. McDonald's? She does, I don't.
No, I'm just messing.
I'm totally lying, it was me. So we're sitting in the driveway, in the drive-thru, and all of a sudden she looks over and she goes, I'm not comfortable. And I said, I understand that, you know, but tell me why. And she's like, well, we're next to this crappy hotel. It's real dark over there, you can't see anything. And the curb for me to leave the driveway is almost 2 feet tall. So I really couldn't go anywhere if I had to. And I was like, what a proud moment, as not only as a husband, but as an instructor, that someone has the wherewithal to think like, hey, if something bad happened right now, I can't do anything.
Yep.
Can't jump the curb, can't see over there, I'm not really in the fight. So to see people kind of wake up and be like, man, thanks for telling me that one time, that one thing. Because if basically as an instructor, if I can get one person to change one thing, then they're in the fight. Things are better, you know? Yeah. And then they build because you wake up a little bit and then those building blocks start clicking, so.
Yeah, and that's where it's at. That's what it's all about right there is that.
I mean, you've been to, what, 15 different training courses probably in the last couple of years?
Yep.
Right, started out with a basic pistol class, fighting pistol class, basic rifle, fighting rifle, mindset, all the way up to full force on force training, right?
Yep.
And how much has it changed your life in the normal, and how much has it changed hers?
I go back and I use the channel as sort of like a chronograph of my journey, so to speak, and I'll go back like 2 years and I don't even recognize that dude, right? He didn't have his nice beard either.
That says a lot right there.
Yeah, I know, right? But no, seriously, it has changed my life. Getting into the training hardcore has changed the way I conduct myself on a day-to-day basis. And when her and I started dating, she didn't carry a gun, right? And now she doesn't go anywhere without it, right? So major changes to our lifestyle, definitely.
And that's awesome. And that's the whole idea behind this is I wanted my reach, your reach, to reach out to someone that, there are a lot of people that watch your channel that don't know me.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that watch mine that probably do know you, but haven't watched whatever.
There's probably some crossover.
But I want some crossover. So I want to be able to tell the same thing, like, hey, look how this changed our lives. This is important to us. It's impacted us in a positive light, and you should do the same. That you don't need a $2,000 AR and no training. You don't need a $2,000 1911 and no training. You need a Glock and a training course.
Yep.
You need a patrol rifle and a training course.
I 100% agree.
Right. You need a gym membership. It doesn't matter whether it's Planet Fitness, whether it's wherever.
It matters if it's Planet Fitness, but everywhere else
not to some people.
Yeah.
If you haven't worked out in 3 years, you can go to the PF.
Yeah.
If you haven't done anything. Not my style, but move. Get up and do something, right? Become mobile, start doing these things. Better mind, better body.
100% agree. Q, tell them where they can find you, brother.
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at Death Valley, VALI, YouTube, the same thing, and at Infowars.com.
And I'll have all that in the description box down below. Thanks, you guys, for joining us down here at Big 3. Thanks for joining us and listening to Q. Obviously, a really important topic, and I think hopefully this video spurs something to you guys to get out and go attend a training course, hopefully in the imminent future, because you never know when it's going to come home to you. Thank you, Q. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
And we absolutely, please come again.
Yeah,
all right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.